Hi, this is Stuart Talley of Kershaw Talley. I'm one of the partners here responsible for the Stryker Rejuvenate litigation. Recently, many of you may have heard about a settlement in a very similar case involving another recalled hip called the DePuy ASR. Many of our clients, our Stryker Rejuvenate clients, have been calling us asking us what that means for their case. First of all, there are many similarities between the Stryker Rejuvenate cases and the DePuy ASR cases. Both of these hips are hips that were recalled. Both of these hips are recalled because they are shedding cobalt and chromium ions into the hip joint. However, there is a significant difference with the Stryker Rejuvenate cases, and the big difference is where the hip is defective. In the Rejuvenate cases, the hip is defective at the stem. In the ASR cases, it's the ball and cup that are defective. And what that means for people with the Rejuvenates is that if you have a revision surgery, typically that involves removing the stem from the hip. And that's the stem that actually goes into the femur. Removing the stem is a very, very difficult revision surgery. It can result in lots of bone loss. It can result in a fractured femur, which is substantial. In the ASR cases, typically it involves just replacing the ball and the cup, which is a much simpler process. So the Stryker cases are significantly different in that respect. Also, there are differences in the way the cobalt and chromium appear to be reacting in people who have these hips. Based on what we've seen and based on some of the recent literature that's come out, it appears that the cobalt and chromium from Stryker hips has a much more virulent reaction in the hip joint. It causes more tissue damage. It causes more bone loss than the ASRs. And that's, with respect to the clients that we have, we're seeing that in those clients. So there are lots of differences. Now, people are asking, well, how much did people get in the ASR case? And the answer to that question is that it varies. If you're looking at a standard run-of-the-mill case where somebody had an ASR, it was recalled, they had high cobalt and chromium, the hip had to be revised, a person in that situation would typically get, on average, $250,000 from the settlement. What's important to know is that that is exclusive of what we call liens. Okay, in a typical lawsuit, if you get a settlement for a revision surgery, you would have to pay from your settlement your insurance company for any expenses that they incurred for your revision surgery. Many of these cases, that lien, that amount that gets taken out of your settlement, could be $100,000 or more. So when you're looking at a settlement that's a $250,000 settlement where the liens don't come out of it, what you're really talking about is a settlement that's in the $350,000 range. And so that really is sort of what we're looking at in the ASR cases. The question is, what does that mean for the Stryker cases? Does that set a baseline? The low end? Is that the high end? It's difficult to say at this point. Based on my analysis, I think it would set a base as the low end. That $250,000 exclusive of liens would be a low number to settle the Stryker Rejuvenate cases at, because the revision surgery is much more invasive. That being said, a lot of the settlement in the ASR case has to do with the liability evidence. The evidence in that case was very clear that the ASR was defective, that DePuy knew about it for a very long time before they recalled it. In the Stryker case, it's too early to know if we have that kind of evidence. If you have evidence that Stryker acted responsibly, they knew there were problems with this, once they learned there were problems with this hip, they immediately recalled it, that's a different case. And that could bring down settlement values. So there's a lot out there. The other thing that I think is also important to note is the timing of a settlement. When you're talking about a settlement in a case that's 3.5 years old, okay, the settlement will usually be more than if a case settles after a month or two. So if you have a quick settlement, many times plaintiffs are willing to settle for less money. in order to get it sooner rather than later. So all of these factors come into it, but I think at the end of the day, you're going to see settlements that are slightly more than what you see in the ASR case. The cases are good cases, and at this point, it remains to be seen where they'll end up. If you have a Stryker Rejuvenate and you want to participate in any settlement in the future, it's important to have a lawyer because you have to have a case on file. If you don't have a case on file, there is no settlement typically. So if you have one of these hips, whether you have any symptoms or not, any problems, give us a call. We'll get a case on file for you. We'll make sure you're protected, because if you wait until something bad happens, until you need revision surgery, it may be too late because the statute of limitations can run on your case. So you can reach us at the number on the screen or visit our website.